will be absent. Bergrange will be absent. Mr. Duffy will be absent, and Mr. Kavanaugh will be absent this evening.
Okay, we have enough for a quorum. Please rise it. Join me in the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item on the agenda tonight, we have an approval of the February 14 meetings that you folks did while I was laying in the sand at the road end. So I've read through them, obviously. I can only assume that they are correct. Those who've been there, any comments?
Correct to me?
Correct. Okay, and we have a motion for
I'll
approval.
make a motion.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, motion carries. Any visitor or public comment on the items not on the agenda tonight? All right, if not, we will go to our public hearing. I will open the public hearing in a minute. I would like to read the conditional use permit so we understand what we're going to be discussing tonight, then we'll open it up. This is a request by J&L Golf, Levi Pratt, and Jared Griffiths to open a sports bar with a casino of up to 20 gaming machines. The building in question is located at 605 Nucleus Avenue, Unit B, which is currently a hair salon. They are zoned CB4, Zone for Business, and the zoning ordinance requires a conditional use permit for casinos while bars and restaurants are permitted normal uses. Property is described as lots 1 and 2, block 45, Columbia Falls, original town site, located section 8, town site 30 north, range 20 west, PM, Flathead County. Open this evening, and may we have a presentation by our planner.
Good evening, Donna Vlad, San Survey 2 Village Loop. I'm representing Columbia Falls. So as was stated, this is a request by J&L Golf LLC for conditional use permit to add a casino, and this is at 605 Nucleus Avenue, Unit 2, and that is currently next to the North Fork Pizza. Property is zone CB4, which is the downtown area along Nucleus, and businesses are located to the northwest and south of the subject property. Under CB4, taverns, bars, and brew pubs are permitted uses. However, casinos and gaming machines require a conditional use permit. The state of Montana ties casino and liquor licenses together by only allowing gaming machines if a liquor license is purchased. The maximum number of gaming machines allowed is 20, and that number is set by state statute. The proposed casino would fit the downtown area where the Columbia Falls planning documents encourage restaurants, drinking, and gaming establishments. There are 3 other casinos within a block of the proposed casino, so the use is not out of place. So after review, staff recommends the planning board adopt the staff report as findings of fact, and also recommends approval of the CUP with conditions to the city council. Are there any questions?
I have a question. Why do we have to have a CUP for gaming machines? Is it state law, or is that one of our local things?
Well, they're considered ancillary to the taverns. They're kind of linked together. So you can have a tavern and not have the gaming machines. There's a little different impact with the gaming machines.
So that's the only reason why.
Susan might be able to answer that. That is the reason that I
It's
would.
listed as a conditional use in that.
It is conditional? Okay.
Yes.
All right. That's the only question that I have.
It's okay, I was making it way more harder than what your question was. Sorry.
Because the majority of the bars in the state have gaming machines somewhere anymore.
They do. The liquor licenses are insanely expensive, so that's a way to help.
That helps
Pay for them.
offset the cost of the licenses, yes.
All right. Thank you.
Susan, anything from you before we continue?
No.
Okay, reopen for any of the public to come forward this time for any statement. Remembering that we've had 3 responses, letters. One we had on the desk tonight, front and back, and one we received earlier. Again, anybody from the public? Third and final time, anyone from the public? Okay, that is a portion of the public hearing. Board, it is our turn to deliberate. Ben and I have been around this town for quite some time. If they even get to 20, they will still not be as many as we used to have. Because when the Bandit Sportsman was in full swing, he had a whole corner that was full. The previous owners of the Carrows had a bunch, they still have some. And also the Columbia Bar has a bunch of them. I have not been in two of those establishments, I don't know how many they have anymore. But at one time, we had a full slate of gambling machines in town. So, comments?
I have one comment for the city. On page 17, talking about parking lots. And
Page 17, you said?
page 17. And it says, there are no off-street parking standards for CB4 zone, as it would cause half the historic buildings to be torn down in the downtown area, which seems a little hyperbolic to me. It seems like there should be more nuance than it half gets torn down or there's no parking. And I understand that we can't arbitrarily assign parking to this CB4 designation, but it seems going forward that there has to be some sort of middle ground between tearing down historic buildings, which is kind of, seems, like I said, hyperbolic, and not. So, just.
So the CD4 parking standards in your zoning regulations say that they have to provide a plan of where the employees are gonna park, but it is not required. And so, and then some of the CD4 lots, the downtown lots, are not 50 by 125, they're 25 by 125. So a lot smaller and longer. They do have some, like Cindy's here, I think you have some space behind your building for parking. That would be private parking for her building. But you take a building like the Nord building that,
Sure.
because CD4 allows you to build to the lot line. So if later we changed the standard and said, okay, CD4, you need parking, and there was a change of use or a change, they wanted to do something, they really would, like, physically, there's not enough space.
Sure,
So,
yeah, I understand.
so maybe, so the staff report, Eric might have been a little light on that explanation, right? But it's, we don't get to pick like one use in CB4 and say, like, you need parking.
So if, in the future, like, so next year when we really do the growth plan, could we stipulate that CB4, if you bring a restaurant or a bar, you have to provide for parking? Could that be a thing?
No,
Or is-
because zoning says CB4 does not require parking.
So there can't be, there's no, Asterisks.
So reviewing, right, but we added, and there is a lot of downtown parking. You know, there's just different times, but,
It's not the hitching post parking. as
just
it's
not the
called.
hitching post
Everybody
parking,
has to
but,
park in front of the building.
so it would take a change in the zoning regulations, but that's kind of speaks back to the comment on 17 that, okay, now you change this building and you change it to this use, but you have to tear down half the building to have parking, which actually wouldn't be enough parking, right, based on square footage, so,
okay.
Susan, I disagree with the comment you made, and that was about the fact that downtown has plenty of parking, because that's absolutely not a fact. You may have your parking here because you get a spot in your lot, but for the rest of the business owners downtown, and they're struggling, really struggling with parking.
we've reviewed parking.
It doesn't matter, we have to figure it out.
No, downtown, we've reviewed parking,
Yeah.
and there's some national standards, and yes, they might not. So, the buildings, like some where Mr. Ruiz had, like he's adding 80 parking spots. That wasn't required, but that's his business model, and he did that. But there has been an analysis on downtown parking. And there is parking. It's not directly in front, might be based on time. Yes, you might have to walk a block, but there are planning considerations with downtown, and you know we can review them in the future But I think this comment speaks back to you can't retroactively say CB4 requires parking, because there's no way to, where you can build to your lot line. So some of the newer buildings have accommodated some parking,
But they're not required to.
but they're not required to.
That's a problem. I realize what you're talking about, and I understand what you told Kurt, but if you want this downtown to continue to grow, we're gonna have to address that parking issue somehow. And I don't know how Mr. Ruiz will feel when everybody that wants to park in his parking lot isn't patronizing his establishment.
It's private parking, it's not public parking,
So I understand.
Yeah,
Watch
so-
what happens. We have private parking all over in Maine. People park in parking spaces anyway. I'm just saying that this is.
And I talked to one downtown owner that said she gets walked in, but she's never called to have a car towed. I said, the first time you call, like instead of trying to run around and say, hey, do you know who owns this car because they just walked in my customer? The first time, you know, it's marked private parking, customers only, violators will be towed. The first time she tows a vehicle, they will not park there again.
Well, okay, well, whatever you feel, living it is another story, okay? So I'm a business owner, I'm downtown, there's a letter in here, I mean, I don't know if this is time to talk about it, but stating that, no?
No,
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't bear on this
It
application.
has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Oh, well, we talked about parking, so that's why.
Yeah, I mean, it's just,
Okay,
it meets
fine.
the requirements, so,
Okay.
you know, if you're gonna
Agree
face a
with it.
decision about, you know, whether or not to approve
I
on
understand.
parking, I would dissuade that.
Okay,
I mean, but, you know, if that's the purpose of your comments,
no, that
Okay.
was just more the discussion that we were having on parking, that was the
Oh.
only.
I think once this is over, Patty, we might have a short discussion about parking, because I have my own opinions too. Because I'm downtown quite frequently too during the day. And I know where to park, and I never have a problem finding a parking place. So it is what it is, I guess, so. But anyway, back to this, any other comments? Because I will remind the board that one time this came up before, and it was passed by the planning board and turned down by the city, and that ended up in a lawsuit that the city lost. Mr. Hall was mayor at the time, and those people were still, don't speak to me, even though I voted for what they were attempting to do, having a couple gambling machines to get into the wee hours of the afternoon to supper, and they couldn't make the business go. So this is a simple request as far as I'm concerned. It's legal. If you have a religious problem with it, I can't change that aspect, but this is a simple little request of whether or not the gentleman needs approval on a cup for up to 20, which is a lot of gambling machines. I've seen a lot bigger facilities that don't have 20. So any other questions, comments?
One more comment, so, and Justin, you can answer this, what's the distance from a business that people can smoke? Is it 25 feet, or is that a,
well, it has to be outside.
Outside is basically what it is.
So-
So this whole thing came up quite a bit several years ago when they were starting to, you know, put in those little igloo things. You know,
Smoking huts.
Right?
Yeah.
And those distances became, you know, quite specific, but I think as long as you're outside and you're not within a certain distance of the front door, I can't tell you.
okay, so like Columbia's been exempted, right? But-
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking that that might be something that we should consider with this new, you know, if we approve it. I'm guessing the folks at North Fork aren't gonna appreciate a bunch of people smoking in front of their building, and, you know, I'm just, but I don't know where, if we have, we can't enforce it with you.
That would be an ordinance or a state law.
Well, state law, the
It's state
Montana
law.
Clean Indoor Air Act
That's right.
defines that, and the individual's right to breathe and so on, and then it's the health department enforces that, so I think there's some,
I just want to be on record that I think it's a,
yeah.
that's all.
But that is addressed, and Susan's right, in state law and the health department, the county addresses that too.
Okay. And that's all.
Any other questions for staff?
No.
Patty?
30 feet. 30 feet from the
Is
building.
it 30 feet?
Petition.
Yeah, that's why most of them are behind the buildings.
Well, that's, you saw what I was doing.
Side door, and they're behind the buildings, not all the time.
30 feet.
Our,
Okay.
30 feet from the.
Columbia's coming to.
30
It's
feet
30 inches
from,
there. You're right.
it says.
I assume most of those people smoke, so they don't.
30 feet of your building.
Okay, yeah, just
Yeah.
curious.
All right, any other questions? Would somebody like to make a motion on A, the staff report is found in the back?
I'll make that a motion.
Motion, and a second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion that has been seconded to approve CCU 2301 as finding of facts. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, say. Next item is B, recommend approval of the conditional use permit to city council, which would be what meeting, Susan?
There you go. It is, I want to say May, let's see, April 3rd.
Okay. All right, would somebody make that motion, please?
I move.
Okay, Patty has made the motion to approve the CUP. We have a second?
Second.
Who was first? Robert. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. All right, thank you. Okay, I guess we will pass that on to the city council for the meeting of April 3rd. Now, we've closed that aspect. Now, back to your next question on parking. I have a lot of people that tell me a lot of things. I quit going into the post office about 9 o'clock in the morning because a lot of people obviously have come to the fact that I'm ruining the city, but that's beside the point. But when it comes to parking, there is parking always available. On the west side of Ruiz is a big building, is apartment behind Masonic Lodge. And those side streets, if you look, you can park in front of the, this side of the veterinarian's clinic. There's 4 places there. And if you look, there's spots in and around there. You're 1.5 blocks off Main Street. And it's like that during the day or evening. So like I said, the problem is we have the mentality, which we have in all small towns, the hitching post mentality. Everybody wants to park in front of the business.
I think, Mike, in this winter, it's a little more of an issue than in the summer. Those roads and those streets are really dangerous and they're icy, and people are afraid to walk down. I don't blame them. It's dark, there's black ice. Summer is a little different, but, you know, I mean, I'm just telling you, I'm a business owner right downtown, and I'm having issues trying to park near my office. And then I have to walk in the dark, and there's snow, and there's ice. Summer's different. And you know what? Maybe we should start towing and teach, you know, we have people in our building constantly parking in our building, and it says clear as day, private parking.
You should be calling the city and.
I think the city
police come
should
in.
buy a tow service. We could make a lot of revenue on that.
Right, it's private property, you don't call the police, you call dispatch and,
You have to call the police to get it towed?
no, you call, or you can call your own tow provider.
Okay.
It's private property, so the,
So that our city police aren't involved in unless
No.
somebody's really being
right.
obnoxious.
No, you can call, the dispatch center has, like tow companies that they dispatch, or you can call one yourself.
Okay,
But, and the other thing, for the benefit of the planning board, the city council has made it a priority to work on downtown curb gutter sidewalk to better, you know, because we have some of those blocks, right, where curb gutter sidewalk is missing, so that kind of visually, people are like, oh, do I park there? We're calling for bids. The early bids were really high. It's for a quarter block from a street to an alley, it was $50,000 for a 5-foot sidewalk and curb and gutter. But it's on the council goal. They're using some of the urban renewal district funds, you know, often referred to as a TIF, because that was part of our urban renewal plan. And I don't remember which planning board members were on. You know, we had to define blight, right? Well, we do have some. What missing infrastructure by state law is blight. So they'll call for bids again on, and 7th is part of our race grant. It'll be rebuilt completely from 4th to Nucleus, complete street, curb, gutter, sidewalk, new pavement. But it is a goal, right, because that has been identified as, okay, there is some parking, but if it looks, like I'll pick on the empty lot across from where chamber meetings used to meet, the old community center, right? Well, you park there, but there's no curb, gutter, and sidewalk, right? And it's hard. So replacing decrepit sidewalks, working with property owners and working with the TIF money to help define that parking, which is also relatable across the street from your building, right, where there's grass and there's a private driveway, and we struggle with that owner all the time. If there's curb, gutter, and sidewalk, right, and it's defined, like, you can't park within 3 feet of a driveway, right, you have to allow that, but then it's defined. Visually, people are gonna go, oh, I can park here. So council has made that a priority, and we'll be calling for bids again, and hope to continue the downtown project that they've started.
And you forgot, and angled parking in a couple areas too.
First, yes, that's the first bid that came in, so one block up here, the first bid that came in to put curb, gutter, sidewalk, there's a boulevard, and angled parking was $148,000 for one block. Council, obviously rejected that very high bid and said, let's wait for prices to drop down. Because who would think that a quarter of a block is $50,000? Like, that's 10 times the amount that we were expecting. So that is a goal, is to help with that, fill in the gaps, like, so that people know this is where parking is. When the sidewalk was added up here on the south side of 6th, across from the Vaquero sidewalk, did wonders for, and stopped a lot of the conflict between property owner and parking. So that was kind of the trial run, right? Like, okay, this works. So that's a project, they're working on it, they budgeted, we're gonna call for bids again, and set those priority areas. So that will help, because if you're parking next to dirt, right, or it's not defined, because even if you park there, there's no sidewalk to get on, right, it seems unsafe. So priority with the council, because that helps with that visually.
And at the same time, while we are concerned about parking, our legislative group would eliminate the small city's ability to determine parking for anything. So, like I said, so it's kind of a catch-22. We still don't know where that's going legislatively. But being that I've lived here quite a while, this is a good problem to have, these parking problems. That proves that there's demand for downtown. And 20 years ago, no. There wasn't that much stuff. Now we're growing and we're getting people coming. So, it's a bad
People are
problem, but it's a
coming
good
and they're
problem.
not staying because they can't find anywhere to park. That's the problem. You see it differently than I see it.
Yep. You can't find parking in Whitefish either. I walk a long way when I go to Whitefish.
I understand.
Yeah, so it's a small town problem. It's been that way. Yeah. Anything else, board? Susan, anything else on the docket for the future?
We'll confirm, y'all send out an email. I'm not certain that we'll be meeting on April 11th. I have to confirm whether or not we have a application. I want to say that I think you're going to have a free April 11th. So if you're waiting to file your taxes, you might have a free day. But I'll confirm that and send that out to the board.
Okay, if there's no other business, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? Okay, motion moved and second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say. All right.
All right.
Yeah, so here's my question.
Recording stopped.
Yeah. The other stuff that Chris has been at, pretentious.
Yeah,
With like 200